Thank you, Reed. I appreciate your concern. As to what the Utah legislature is doing, I don't speak for the Utah legislature, and of course we're into a period of time toward the end of the legislative session when there are a lot of things moving and moving quickly. I'm not quite sure how that debate is going to turn out, and again, I can't speak for what they might choose to do. I would encourage you there to reach out to your state legislators, your state representatives, and your state senator. Contact them and share your concern with them. But let me tell you what I'm doing in Congress on this issue, because it's an important one. Of course, there is part of the gasoline tax that you pay at the pump each time you refuel that goes to the state. And that's the one that is under consideration at the Utah legislature right now. There's another part of it that is collected by the federal government, and that's the one that I'm trying to deal with here in Congress. Let me tell you what I'm doing on that. I'm the author and the sponsor of the Transportation Empowerment Act in the Senate. The Transportation Empowerment Act, as I've written it, as I've introduced it, would actually lower the federal gasoline tax. The current federal gasoline tax is 18.4 cents per gallon. So every time you buy a gallon of gasoline, 18.4 cents of that gallon goes to the federal government. What I'd like to do is, and what the Transportation Empowerment Act, which I've introduced in the Senate, would do, is to lower that 18.4 cent per gallon tax to 3.7 cents per gallon. That 14.7 cent per gallon difference would then be up to the states to handle. The states could collect that if they wanted to, or whatever portion of it that they wanted to. And the purpose of this is to make your gasoline taxes go farther. They would be 20 to 30% more effective, meaning that each penny that you pay, if it were collected and spent entirely at the state level rather than going through Congress, each penny would go 20 to 30% farther as a result of it not having to go to Washington, D.C. and to be run through Congress's filter and the federal regulatory filter here in Washington. You know, when the federal gasoline tax was created back in the 1950s, back during the Dwight D. Eisenhower administration, it was created for the specific purpose of creating an interstate highway system. And it was always understood at the time that once that was completed, that system would be turned back over to the states. Well, you know, that system has now been built. And what we've concluded is that you could maintain the interstate highway system with 3.7 cents per gallon. That's exactly why I've written the Transportation Empowerment Act the way I have. Is that 3.7 cents per gallon is enough to maintain the interstate highway system. So the states ought to have the ability to collect and spend that 14.7 cent per gallon differential as they see fit. And you know, I can't speak for your state legislators, but maybe, just maybe, if we were to pass the Transportation Empowerment Act, it wouldn't even be necessary to increase your overall gasoline tax burden at all. And that's the hope that I have with this legislation. That's why I'd invite you to go to lee.senate.gov and check out the Transportation Empowerment Act. I think you'd like it.